Hey there, welcome to a Friday. I'm Dan Gresham. I got a lot of things to do today. It's Friday. First things first, it's time to celebrate, time to say TG, right, to the F. I'm just glad we're here. I'm glad you're here this morning. Before we go any further, I'm trying to start things off with something different, end things with something different, because for just doing the headlines all day, it can wear pretty thin on all of us, right? So I thought this morning, there have been a lot of things that have been fallouts from this pandemic. Granted, a lot of things that have happened that you might not have expected, a lot of things that we did expect. We did expect there to be some tough financial times. I think if you're still working, it's easy to forget there are others who are not and are struggling. There are millions of people in this country. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people in our community who every day they wake up troubled. They wake up concerned. They wake up wondering, what am I going to do today? How am I going to take care of my family today? How am I going to put food on the table? It only takes a second of your day, just a second, to think, to remember, to realize that not everyone is in the same situation. Not everyone. It's like the weather. The weather is a good example was Wednesday. When it was storming everywhere else, it was calm for some reason at my house. The wind was blowing, but there was no rain. But most of us tend to think that if it's raining at my house, it's raining all over the world. It's raining everywhere. So when you bring it down economically, don't we do the same thing? If things are good at my house, well, they must be good everywhere. But it's just not true. Look around you. Pay attention. Open your eyes. Listen to the people that are around you. Listen to things that are happening. Think about the diversity of our economy and the diversity of our community. You have everything from people who are super sad. People that no matter what happens from this point forward, unless you have a total financial collapse, they're good. And then you have other people who are living paycheck to paycheck, day to day. And those who are in a good place need to be, considerate of those who are not. Remember the day we talked about perspective? That's perspective, understanding, trying to put yourself in the position of those people who are struggling. So if there's something that you can do to help those people, whether it's go to a restaurant that maybe is struggling and leave a major tip when you leave, that helps those people, then do it. How's that going to hurt? But back to the original idea of ripple effect. Cumulative, I think this is tsunami effect from this pandemic. It's not ripple effect. Businesses that were hurt by this run the gamut. Businesses that just don't have business anymore. But here's one of those that I never thought about. Just give me a second here. I need to switch. There you go. USA Today headline says stores closing, bankruptcy cases piling up for businesses and that are retailers that sell dress clothes. Sorry, furthest from my mind. I would not have thought about that. But it's the idea that everybody is dressed down. Nobody dresses up. Even before the pandemic, seeing shirts and ties and coats, which were standard affair for men going to work for decades, had already pretty much disappeared. And now you have more and more people working from home. So Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Bank, Brooks Brothers, Lloyd & Taylor, Ann Taylor, Loft, Neiman Marcus. These are all retailers whose parent companies have entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the last couple of weeks. And they say a lot of this has to do, especially for menswear, that men just don't, it just doesn't happen anymore. Get this, in 2011, 1 in 5 suits in America were purchased at one of Men's Warehouse locations. They had 1,200 stores. Started in Houston. Less than a decade later, demands for suits has collapsed. Taylor Brand, which owns Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Bank, filed for Chapter 11, and they're closing 500 locations. And it's not just them. There are a lot of other places that are feeling it too. It wasn't that long ago, every man wore a coat and tie to work when they went to work. Does anyone wear a coat and tie in your world anymore? I always feel like, because I've been wearing a tie and a coat and tie for more than 4 decades every day to work. But I sure feel like the odd man out now when I go out, because everybody's looking at you like, is he going to a funeral? It's going to no, I'm going to work. You know what my standard response is now when people say, I always go, oh, yeah, it's Nomex for newsman. The guy who has to wear the Nomex suit to work, essentially this is my uniform. This is what I wear. It's changing, though. You'll look around the media landscape. You'll see a lot of people now, even in evening news positions, morning news on networks, that are now wearing no ties. Now, you know what? For years, I have to tell the truth. For years, James Brown and I, when we did what I called or considered to be a true morning show, now we seem to be doing more of a news show that is in the morning. But back then, it was a morning show that also had news in it. And we dressed much more casual. But things change, owners change, management change, life changes. And unfortunately for some of these retailers, it's not an easy change. All right, that's the first thought for the morning, but we've got a lot to do, a lot to cover. Some important stories to tell you about this morning. If your people are out there that you're like, man, I have not been able to see my significant other or my loved one or my grandma or grandpa because they've been in a nursing home and we just can't go visit anymore. That's changing. We'll show you how. Also, some trending numbers that might be a little bit unsettling. And also, whether or not, are we going to see any kind of change in attitude from people around us as time goes on? All those things are coming up, so stick around as we get started on this Friday. Once again, it is a Friday edition of Dan's At Home Update. I'm Dan Gresham. This is my house. From time to time, I kind of take you into the house. Let me show you camera number 2. Yeah, we're high end at Dan's house. We have 2 cameras. Camera 2, kind of shooting over this way, kind of shows into the background. Easel up, paintings going on, kind of messy over there, because that's where you can just kind of, I always call it smearing paint all over the canvas. So, yeah, glad to have you into our house this morning. As we move forward, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things, going to get you caught up on the headlines. But before we do that, please, if you got a thought, comment, something you want to talk about this morning, you know the place to go. There's a comment right there, just like you would for any other Facebook page post. You can go in on our live stream. You can comment. I see them. I will post them. For example, here's one. Jeannie Foster says, good morning from Viter. It's the weekend. It is. Thank you for the home news from Dan's house. You're very welcome. Marie Prince, good morning. Hey, Chason. James, Christina is up this morning. Also, Carolyn, good morning to you. Who else? Donald says, good morning. Wood flooring down in Rockport. Woohoo, we have a great weekend. Well, thank you. Same to you. Donald is a friend of mine, longtime friend of mine from all the way back in high school who has a home in Rockport, one of those people affected by the hurricane. Yeah, but things are getting better, obviously. Denise, good to have you up with us this morning. Hi, Mary Ellen. Well, you're good morning. You're still in Florida. Okay. Like to see you there. Josie Green, good morning. And so true, Dan. Blessings to you. Well, thank you very much. Tom's watching us up in Frankfort, Illinois this morning. Tammy is up. Chason is up. Also, Marie Prince is here. Vitamin World and Justice went out of business. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of companies, and they're not all small companies, that unfortunately, yeah, they have disappeared. Kirsten Thomas says, same here. I guess she's talking about disappearing dress clothes. Thelma McClellan, good morning to you. Anybody looking for a side hustle? There you go. Just PM, who's not looking for a side hustle? Yes, agree. Life changes, sign of the times. Happy Friday to all y'all. back home. Thanks so much. Again, post up this morning if you want to. Say hi. Tell us where you're watching from. You can also ask a question, post a comment. We don't look at every single thing on the live stream, but we look at all of them maybe when we're not on the live stream. I do. I value every one of your comments, all your thoughts. When's the last time you wore formal wear? Ladies or men? When's the last time you got dressed up to go someplace? I bet it's been a while. I'm just thinking that it's probably been a while for most people, right? Wedding? Reunion? I guess we're starting to do some more of those, but let's hope that we're doing them smartly. Because as we say every day, the coronavirus is not going anywhere. I read a story yesterday, some epidemiologists and public health people talking about they firmly believe that the coronavirus will be among us in some form or fashion for at least the next 2 years. So if you're thinking we're going to wake up one morning and all of a sudden, shazam, we're back to where we were 5 months ago, I would not hold my breath. Now, that brings me back to the original point. We're going to live with this. So you're going to have to figure out what it takes for you to be able to live with this. Are you going to stay at home and live in fear? Or are you going to have the facts and go about your business? Because I don't see that we have a whole lot of options otherwise. Barbara Emmons, good morning from Bevel Oaks. Carolyn says she sells real estate. I assume that means you have to dress for the part. Barbara Emmons, church, wedding, funerals. Yeah. And Terry Dillinger says, on the cruise right before the lockdown in March. There you go, formal wear. All right, let's talk headlines this morning. There are some positive news, and there are some stories that you may not want to see, but we have to look at. Let's start with KFDM.com, first place to go when you want to know what's happening in Southeast Texas and your community. We always try to update as much as possible. We'll tell you that among stories that do not involve COVID-19 that are getting some traction this morning, the Beaumont Police Department investigating a homicide took place in the 5900 block of Bedford. That's off Highway 105. Happened yesterday evening. Not a whole lot of details other than a man was found in front of an apartment complex, taken to the hospital where he later died. Also this morning, a story that I think a lot of taxpayers in Jefferson County are reacting to, that Jefferson County commissioners are talking about selling Ford Park and all that goes with it, I guess. Apparently there is a group that wants to bring horse racing to Southeast Texas, so they're interested in the park. There are a lot of caveats. Commissioners saying, sure, we'll take bids, but you have to remember we already have certain obligations that we cannot overlook. We cannot forget, that the YMBL and the function of holding their fair there, which is a huge money maker. Will you have a fair in the middle of a pandemic, though? May not happen this year. Also, you have ballparks. You have a lot of things there that are going on. But the county judge saying this morning, Judge Brannick, that all of those things will be taken into consideration before they accept any bids from anybody. But I think a lot of taxpayers, when you're talking about, millions of dollars a year that it takes to operate, are saying, could you really get rid of it? Could you unload that? Could you take that off the taxpayers? And I think a lot of people are going to get the opportunity because they have invited comment. So if you have a thought one way or the other, let them know. Now moving on, here's a story that I think is really, really important. Let me see if I can find it, because now that I've said it, I'm like, where did it go? And even if I can't find it, I can tell you the story, and maybe you'll see it on the website. I know that it's here, that we're now finding out that you're going to be able to go into some nursing homes here in Texas. That's a good thing. After all these months of people not being able to go and see their loved ones, or only see them in a very, through a window, they are changing things, and you are going to be able to go and visit those nursing homes. on a limited basis, on a limited capacity. You're not going to be able to go in and hug your loved one. You're not going to be able to go in and have this happy reunion that you want to have maybe, but you will at least have the opportunity. I think the guideline says they have to have no active COVID cases inside the facility, and that the meeting has to take place outdoors, and that you cannot, as I said, have physical contact with those people. But that's got to be a whole lot better than not being able to see them at all, or calling them and seeing them through a window, right? By the way, if you want to drop a like on us this morning, we always will take those. We like them, certainly, because again, it's just a way for us to be able to show our bosses that, hey, people are still watching and there's still an interest in the morning update. Okay, let's also jump back over to KFDM.com this morning, because there were a couple other stories that I did want to show you too. Who would have thought this would be a fallout of the pandemic? That Jefferson County needs poll workers. You know, all those people, when you go to vote, all those people that you see there that are working, that are taking your name, that are checking to make sure, okay, right address, right person, here's your, slip of paper. Now you can go. Those people are, what do you think the average age? It's got to be over 65, wouldn't you think? A lot of these people have been working polls for years, and now, because of their age, they're concerned. They don't want to be at the polling place where you have lots of people coming in. You're going to be meeting, face to face. So Carolyn Guidry, the county clerk, is now looking for people to come and work the polls. If you feel emboldened to do that, then you should, check in with her, because they're looking, and it is a paying position. It doesn't pay a lot, but it does pay. I think they pay $11 an hour to do it. So, at least it would pay for your gas to get there, and you'll be part of the process. Also this morning, what I would consider to be a disturbing and alarming story, especially if you're in Lake Charles, that the National Disaster Medical Team has sent people to help treat COVID-19 patients. That cannot be a positive sign. If they're saying you need extra people in your hospitals, as I said, that I would think would be fairly alarming. Speaking of numbers, let's take a look at a couple. Another story you can go and find on KFDM.com. Judge McDaniel up in Hardin County talking about they have seen a decrease in the number of tests. They have also seen a decrease in the number of positive cases, but they have seen an increase in deaths. And I think everyone that you talk to, elected official, public health official, is really on pins and needles right now because of the idea of schools reopening and what that might mean as far as upticks and or spikes in the number of cases that we're going to see. Many people will tell you it's inevitable. When you put people in small spaces and they are not wearing masks and they can't social distance, then there's a real good possibility that's going to be a problem. All right, so I wanted to show you the numbers this morning. These are the numbers that I found when I went looking for them of the day. All right, so we're talking about, this is, I think, 8 counties that I saw, 7 new deaths. That brings the total to 146 in our region, 180 new positives, and 91 hospitalized. Are you like me to the point where you're like, positives, they mean something, testing means something, but it's just so diluted right now. It's hard to take much away from that. But when you start talking about deaths and you start talking about how many people are hospitalized, that seems tangible. That does seem tangible. All right. So I just wanted to get you up to date on those so you know where those are at. Also, let me take you over real quick and show you from Texas Tribune the statewide numbers. There are 8,302 people in hospital as of the 6th. That's 994 less than last week. That's definitely a positive. 7,598 new cases. More disturbing, though, 7,803 Texans have died as of yesterday. That's 306 more deaths reported than the day before. And that's 1,529 more than a week ago. So again, that's why some people are very concerned about the numbers that we're seeing. I mentioned Texas Tribune. They are hardworking journalists out there trying to make sure that you get as much as you can possibly get. The stories are impactful. They're spot on. They're well researched. Somebody was asking about more. Give me more about that nursing home. Well, there you go. Texas allowed to limited visitation. So if you're wondering what that includes, as you see, for the first time in 5 months, visitors will be allowed in Texas nursing homes on a limited basis. You can go and read that story more in depth for yourself. Also, a non-COVID story this morning. 9 storms so far this hurricane season. They're talking about the possibility of running out of names. That's how many storms they've revised the number of storms for the Atlantic hurricane season. 2005, we had 28 storms. We started going to the Greek alphabet. Let's hope that's not the case. But we have reached 9 quicker than we've ever reached 9 named storms, in the history of naming storms. All right, so that kind of catches you up on what's happening in our headlines this morning. You got a pretty good idea. Again, you go in, do a little bit of work for yourself, see what's going on, go to those sources that you trust, places that you believe, and get your information. Let's go. Marianne Tucker, could poll working be considered community service for various people, even college students that could use the hours? Just a thought. And it would be just that. I'm not really sure. And I really couldn't tell you that. But again, they do need the workers. So if you know somebody, Jeannie Foster asked, what about assisted living homes? I don't know, Jeannie. I would make a phone call and find out. I would think that maybe, to the home that you're interested in, I would think that might be true. Carlene Perdue, unload the money pit. She's talking about Ford Park. Okay, and this will be a discussion item I think that we'll see a lot coming up, as we move forward with the idea. All right, about time for me to bug out this morning. But before we go, I want to always end on a positive story, something that's a little bit different, something that's not death, destruction, and mayhem, which we seem to have plenty of. And here it is. It is the offbeat story. It's not really, but I saw this and I went, I would have never thought about this. How to pair wine and tacos. Advice from a sommelier. All right, I've seen some pretty interesting, now you can get beer pairings. I know that for a fact, that, you can go and find somebody who'll say, oh, well, if you'll just, if you're going to have your steak medium rare, you should try it with an IPA. Never even think about that. But wine pairings with tacos, I bet that works for a lot of people. Look at this. Go and look at, I did not know this. Some of these restaurants, there's a place called Taco y Vino in Dallas. Yeah, you get the idea. They do tacos and wine. And the director of Surete in Austin is saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with a double-decker taco with a little rosé. But they're also saying that a lot of these places have now kind of turned into taquerias out of necessity. And you can go and read the conversation. I just thought it was interesting because, again, it's not something I would have thought of. Oh, what do I want? With my, pork, thin brisket taco or my fish taco. But there are the answers right there. You can go and see it for yourself. Again, Texas Monthly, how to pair wine and tacos. Now, see, you got to, come on. That's a good way to end the week, right? Talking wine and tacos. you go out and fix some of whatever your preference is for the weekend. I know that I'm ready to spend some time with my wife and family for the weekend and not think about work. We'll do that again on Monday, though, of course. We'll be back. We'll try to keep updated on what's going on. But again, I always like to remind you before we go anywhere that you can go to kfdm.com anytime, 24 hours a day, whether you're looking for the forecast or if you want to catch up on something that's happening in your community. We are local news. That's KFDM and KBTV. That's what we have done for more than 60 years, and that is what we continue to do today. And you will certainly find it today at noon, 5, 5:36, 9, 10, and of course back in early on Monday as well. And I will make plans to see you back here on the at-home update. And again, please just let me know. Should we keep doing this? You had enough? Oh, these things are just, is it so repetitive? It sounds like the same thing every day. I'm done with this. Just drop me a line. Let me know. Because again, as long as you're interested, I'm interested. And I want to remind you too, lots of ways you can catch up with us. You can do it by going to Facebook as you have now. And you can also do it Twitter, it's Morning TV Dan, or YouTube. I post all of these on YouTube after we're done. So if you want to share them with somebody, you can go to Dan's at Home on YouTube. Whoops. All right, so that's it for me today. I appreciate it. Again, look forward to seeing you on Monday. Go out and make it a terrific weekend.